right before I went to Suffolk, which is Special Forces Advanced Urban Warfare School. I got the I'm not happy speech from my soon-to-be ex-wife. Hello everybody, Terrence Popp here with another episode of Live from the Lair. Alright, so we last left off, I was talking about the tail end of the rehab for the closed head injury. Talked about some other challenges that go along with getting your thinking meat jacked up, but it is what it is. So now we're starting to go into the end of 2005, the beginning of 2006. I had already been at 20th Group Special Forces for about 5 months. And, you know, in a reserve unit or National Guard unit, usually there's not much you do. The training is like a lot of mandatory training and a lot of the political horse shit. But in the Special Forces, you don't deal with that shit. In fact, I think we had our mandatory training over the Christmas. We did the whole thing in 2 hours, and the individual who gave all of the training was a professional auctioneer. So he'd whip right through that shit. We'd all sign in, and we'd knock it out in 2 hours. You know, 6 months worth of fucking mandatory training, which, by the way, is absolutely stupid. You're burning up a lot of time that could be used on training on war tasks, and you know, I mean, a lot of other critical shit that you need to, you know, to shoot, move, and communicate in regards to like equal opportunity and resiliency and anti-suicide, and then there's probably 8 or 10 more. I don't even remember what they all were. It's just a complete waste of time. I mean, they literally they put you all in the classroom, they talk at you, and nobody really absorbs anything. That's kind of why I did the try not to kill yourself suicide video on Redonkulous, even though YouTube took it down. I'm gonna probably remake that and put it up. We'll see. And I did the PTSD video. I did that for the dudes too, because you know, all of the people I talked to, I went from my PTSD. None of them were prior, well, all but one were prior service. I went through like 4 or 5. And literally, they would, I'd sit down, the guy would be somewhere in his early 30s, probably he'd been out of college for like 2 to 4 years. You know, and then he's trying to tell me about war and after effects and post-traumatic stress disorder and all this other shit. And I just wasn't feeling it. I was not receptive to that at all. And then, you know, the second or third one they sent me to was a 28-year-old chick with a nice rack. And like halfway through the first session, I was just like, you need to stop talking to me. You're just too attractive. This isn't going to work. You know, finally they sent me to a guy, and I remember I was in his waiting room, and there's a picture of him with his, you know, team in Vietnam. So, you know, he'd been there, done that, and he really helped me out a lot, that guy. But you deal with a lot of depression. You're coming to terms that you're a different man. My sleep was absolutely terrible. My neck was killing me, just killing me. And you know, I had to basically get myself an inflatable traction collar, which I purchased on eBay, by the way, for like $25, and I glued on some extra Velcro and a couple other retention straps. And I got one of those mouth guards with the hole so you could breathe, you know, between your teeth. And I started using that. I would take my knockout drops and my booze, put the shit on my neck, lay down, and I would like literally be out cold for 4 to 5 hours, get up, take it off my neck, and then finish the rest of my night's sleep, whatever that would be, if I would go back to sleep at all, which was seldom if ever. But it took a while. Took about a year for the tingling in my hands to go away. I still have the thalamic pain on the left side that never went away, but you know, that got better. That was starting to drive me really crazy. I'm still hyper reflexive on the left side, and you know, what are you gonna do? But while I was going through all this, you know, I would once a month jump in my car, drive down to Chicago, and, you know, do our drills. And the way they worked, a lot of, like, especially if you went to the field, it wasn't a MUTA 4 or MUTA 6. All right. MUTA 4 is like a 2-day drill. MUTA 6 is a 3-day drill, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. If it's a MUTA 4, it's just Saturday and Sunday. They would have a MUTA 8 or a MUTA 12. And you would start on Monday and go all the way to Sunday. So that was pretty cool. And that's usually for ranges. And we'd go out there and, you know, burn through the 50, the 300 Win Mag, Remington 700, the Barrett 50. There was a bolt action 50 we fired. There was a 416 that I didn't get a chance to shoot. It was experimental. We had the M60, the 240, the saws. We had a lot of the M21s, M14s. We even had an M1 Grand that we used to fuck with every now and again. There was a couple of grease guns. We fired the 90, the Carl Gustav, and I believe there were some RPGs there, but not that many. I didn't actually fire any of the RPGs. We fired the Mark 19 and the 40 millimeter grenade launcher, which was pretty good. What we did do is we had an old 203 that we're going to basically turn in because it had gone beyond its service date and was kind of worn out. And I don't know who did it, but they jerry-rigged a Mark 19 round to fit into the 40. And then we tied a fucking string to it and shot that motherfucker off. And that Mark 19 has so much more fucking power than the 40 Mike standard grenade. It literally split the tube and like fractured the receiver on the M16A1 it was fucking attached to. So we basically just boxed it up, broke in, and sent it in. I mean, it still had the serial numbers. It's not like we were doing anything funky. We just wanted to see if it was, you know, dangerous to, you know, fire a Mark 19 out of a 203 round. Because the Mark 19 will fire that grenade 3,200 meters. The shoulder fired, you're lucky to get 400, 425 out of it if you have a good headwind. But, you know, that's it. That was great. You know, we'd basically go to the barracks, get up in the morning. We'd be on the range all day. We'd do our night fires, you know, go back to bed. And this went on for like 3 or 4 days, 5 days. And the difference between like a special forces unit and like a regular like infantry unit is everything got done. Nobody had to like walk behind us or remind us to do anything. Everyone just did what they're supposed to fucking do. Just imagine that. A bunch of professionals doing the profession that they've chosen to do, and they did it, you know, without any craziness. I mean, I think we had to go back and like re-sweep a floor in the barracks when we cleared post. That's it. I mean, our paperwork was immaculate. Our round counts when we turned in the dunnage was immaculate. I mean, everything worked out. And it didn't hurt that we had when our supply sergeant has basically a range turn-in footlocker with a bunch of extra brass and whatever he needs to have in there, like, you know, grenade dunnage and 203 dunnage, and, you know, the Claymore mine system dunnage and the whole deal. So if we had to clear a receipt and they're like, hey, you're short 159. Oh yeah, I'll go check the range again. He just goes back to his box, counts out 150 rounds into a coffee can, comes back to the ASP and turns it in. Because they're getting kind of stupid about the 9mm. They wanted it basically round for round. You know, it's not, they didn't turn in by weight like they usually do. Like if you have, you know, 5,000 or 10,000 rounds, they know pretty much what 10,000 rounds of brass weighs. And you just bring it back and turn it in, and you have to be within a certain percentage or they kick you back. But that worked out pretty good. You know, I cross-trained in commo, got caught up on all that stuff because all the commo I had been using up until that point was Lurs commo AM, you know, with short burst transmissions, skipping off the ionosphere, doing your calculations for your half-wave, quarter-wave antennas and stuff like that. We didn't have the new stuff where, you know, in the special forces they had the satellite dish uplinks, You know, I mean, they could do video conferencing. It was fucking amazing. The shit they have is, it's just hands down better than any of the fucking other services I've ever seen, barring the Navy SEALs, because I've never seen their actual operational kits. I'm sure it's pretty close. And they probably not as good as Delta Force, because they're the first tier in funding, but that's neither here nor there. So I went and did that. In the meantime, in between drills, in 2006, I spent somewhere between $20,000 and $30,000 trying to start up my mortgage business again, and the economy was fucking, spiraling down into the crash of 2008. And, I was able to get some work done, but it wasn't like it used to be. Before I got deployed, I was closing between 6 and 18 loans a month, making between, 9 and, 30 some odd grand, and that was gross before I had to pay all the people that worked for me in taxes and whatever. But I didn't even come anywhere near that, man. Holy shit. I was hemorrhaging cash, and it was not cool. I picked up a real estate license. I did that for, I think, 3 months. What are you going to do? I mean, I closed, once I picked up my real estate license, I think I closed like 8 sales, and 4 of those I wrote the mortgage and did the house at the same time, which technically after 2008, you can't do that anymore. Before, you could. And, if I was doing both sides of the deal, a $100,000 house, I'm getting 6% of that, and then I'm getting 4 to 6% on the mortgage. So a $100,000 house, between selling the house and doing the mortgage, it's like, 8 to 10 grand, 8 to 12 grand, which is pretty fucking good. And I didn't do large loan amounts, because I did a lot of FHA and VA, and I didn't like to do any of the variable, crazy Lair loans or ARMs or anything like that. I don't like surprises. 95% of all of the deals I've ever done in the real estate mortgage business were 30-year fixed. Okay, a couple 15s, and maybe 5% of the time, if they didn't qualify for FHA or VA because of credit issues, and they insisted, then they would get a non-conventional, mortgage, which I didn't really approve of that. I thought it was a bunch of bullshit, because, the standard mortgage, the mortgage model that they do the lending off is based off of what the English used to do in the 1800s. Okay, it's been modified a little bit, but typically you gotta have 20% down before the bank would even consider loaning you cash. Okay, and we got around that with a PMI and MIP, which are code words for a separate insurance policy to cover the 20% that you didn't put down. But that's neither here nor there. I'm not here to talk to you about finances, because most of you guys out there, like me, financially you're fucked, especially if you've been divorced like me. So, what are you going to do? Now, 2006, I was like, I want to say the summer of 2006, right before I went to Suffolk, which is Special Forces Advanced Urban Warfare School. I got the "I'm not happy" speech from my soon-to-be ex-wife. And I was kind of like, okay, what's going on? What do you need? And, she's basically said she wanted a bigger house, and some other, things done. She didn't feel like she was where she was supposed to be at this point in her life. And I was like, not a problem. We can get a bigger house. And we actually started looking. And that went on, I don't know, about 4 or 5 months, and then the real estate market was just getting worse and worse and worse. And, I was hurt. I couldn't get my business going. In the back of my mind, I knew the writing on the wall, when the woman makes as much as you or more, you just became expendable. And that's basically what happened in her mind, I guess. I got written off. And you know what? I mean, I've been written off many times. So many times that I should probably wearing a white and red zebra striped, jacket. But everyone that's ever written me off later regretted it, because I'm not the type of guy to lay down and just you know, cry wolf or yell defeat or cry uncle. It's just not me. So, I mean, that's the way it goes. And, you know, in the next video, I'll get into all of the craziness that took place leading up to, you know, me discovering that my now ex-wife was getting a forest of cocks run through her 6 to 8 inches at a time. And all of the steps I used to rectify the situation and get the answers that I needed to get. So, gentlemen, you know, that's me for today, and I will talk to you later.